Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at Vanta.com.
Need to restock inventory, cover seasonal dips, or manage payroll? OnDeck's small business line of credit provides immediate access to funds up to $100,000 exactly when your business needs it. With flexible draws, transparent pricing, and full control over repayment, you can tackle unexpected expenses without missing a beat. Apply today at OnDeck.com and funds could be available as soon as tomorrow. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by, and welcome to the Lucid Group second quarter 2025 earnings conference call. I would now like to turn the conference over to your speaker for today. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. My name is Bodie, and I am your host. And on today's episode, we are going to cover Lucid's Q2 2025 earnings call. And this is one of those rare ones that I haven't listened to before. Normally, what I do is I'll cut these all up, and then I'll pull out the best clips for what relates to this show. And I'm still going to do that, but I don't have any insight as to what we're going to listen to because I'm on a time crunch and I don't have time to listen to it twice and then record it and all the other things that go with this. But anyway, let's start off with the legal stuff and then we'll jump into the CEO's opening remarks.
Thank you and welcome to Lucid Group's second quarter 2025 earnings call. Joining me today are Mark Winterhoff, our interim CEO, and Tawfiq Usaid, our CFO. Before handing the call over to Mark, let me remind you that some of the statements on this call include forward-looking statements under federal securities law. These include, without limitation, statements regarding the future financial performance of the company, production and delivery volumes, vehicles and products, studios and service networks, financial and operating outlook and guidance, macroeconomic, policy and industry trends, tariffs and trade policy, company initiatives, and other future events. These statements are based on various assumptions, whether or not identified in this communication, and on the predications and expectations of our management as of today. Actual events or results are difficult or impossible to predict and may differ due to a number of risks and uncertainties. We refer you to the cautionary language and the risk factors in our annual report on Form 10-K. We undertake no obligation to revise or update publicly any forward-looking statement for any reason, except as required by law.
Okay, so I don't have anything to add here because I don't understand most of what he said, but I like to just throw that out there since it's very important and it's in every earnings call. I did abbreviate it a little bit so you didn't have to listen to the whole thing. Let's go ahead and jump into Mark Winterhoff, who is the interim CEO. Let's jump into his opening remarks.
In the second quarter of 2025, we achieved meaningful progress on both operational and strategic fronts. We delivered 3,309 vehicles, up 38% year over year, now a sixth consecutive quarter of record deliveries. We produced 3,863 vehicles, up 83% year over year. As expected, ASP increased sequentially this quarter due to improved mix. However, gross margin was negatively impacted by tariffs, as Tawfiq will detail in his remarks. First, we've been sharing with you that we are in active discussions about partnerships beyond selling or licensing our industry-leading EV technology. On July 17th, we took a big step in this direction with the announcement of a partnership with Uber and Neuro on a next-generation premium robotaxi created specifically for the use on Uber's ride-hailing platform. This partnership combines the industry-leading software-defined vehicle architecture of the Lucid Gravity The scalability and proven capability of the Neuro driver level 4 autonomy system, and Uber's vast global network and dynamic fleet management, delivering a fully integrated robotaxi experience developed for comfort, safety, and scale. Our industry-leading efficiency and technology, like our AV-capable sensor suite, redundant steering and braking systems, and highly efficient, compact, and high-power density motors, help maximize uptime and reduce operating costs per mile. Key success factors in a successful robotaxi program. The Lucid Gravity software-defined architecture makes it the ideal platform for third-party autonomy stacks. As part of the agreement, Uber will invest $300 million in Lucid, subject to regulatory review. Uber plans to deploy a minimum of 20,000 Lucid Gravity vehicles equipped with the Neuro driver over 6 years in dozens of markets around the world, with the first vehicles launching late next year. This is an important step for Lucid into the multi-trillion-dollar robotaxi market, but it's only the first step. And while we are working with external partners on this initiative, we continue developing our internal ADAS and AD capabilities, such as our recently announced hands-free driving software update, with more improvements to be announced. We're also leveraging our partnership with the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, or KAUST, to train our AI models for ADAS and AD and bring cutting-edge innovation from the lab to the road. I've been clear about our intention to monetize Lucid technology through licensing deals or strategic partnerships. And this announcement signals our right to win in new markets. Uber's investment in Lucid is yet another example of a third party validating our highly advanced technical platform, and we remain in active discussions with other potential partners.
Okay, so I'm just going to jump in real quick. Just to recap, they delivered 3,009 EVs in the second quarter, which is, up 38%, which is good. I mean, you're not going to stay in business very long if you can only build 3,000 EVs, or your demand is to only build 3,000 EVs a quarter. They produced 3,863, which is up 83%. They have this partnership with Uber, which I think is great. And we've talked about this on the show. And I debated including that in the clip, but ultimately I realized maybe not everybody was, heard that episode where we talked about Uber and Lucid's and Neuro. So I decided to just leave it in. One of the other partnerships that they didn't mention, or at least haven't mentioned yet, is the Aston Martin partnership that they have, where Aston Martin's going to license some of Lucid's technology for EVs. And then he talked about Timothy Chalamet being the global brand ambassador for Lucid. And, I think that's great, I guess. Timothy Chalamet is a young man. I don't know how young, but probably in his 20s. I don't think he's going to appeal to people that can afford these cars that are likely, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and up. I don't know how much appeal Timothy Chalamet has with the Gen X and above group and the elder millennials, but I could be wrong. He could certainly afford a Lucid Gravity or Lucid Air, but I don't know how many other people could. It's pretty expensive cars. Anyway, to be fair, they did mention that it was important to have him as the brand ambassador because it's really more for the more affordable, $50,000 mass-produced version of the Lucids that are coming out in the near future. So, yeah, let's go ahead and continue with his opening remarks. And by the way, if I didn't say this in the beginning, I cut these up so that they make sense for this show. If you want to listen to the whole earnings call, I'll put a link in the show notes because, I remove some things just so it flows better, and I move some things around so it flows better. Anyway, while still keeping the same spirit of what they were trying to say. All right, moving on to our next clip.
Since we started our respective roles, Tawfiq and I have dedicated time to aligning our priorities for the business. We are laser focused on three important near-term priorities for Lucid. These are: first, operational discipline; second, building a distinctive, scalable brand; and third, maintaining and enhancing a sustainable edge through our technology. Operational discipline relates to manufacturing, cost control, and practically every element of the business. As we communicated in our press release, our target is to produce 18,000 to 20,000 total vehicles in 2025, and as of the second quarter, we have produced just over 6,000. On this topic, I feel that it is important to acknowledge that we are not where we want to be with Lucid Gravity production relative to our target at this point in the year. However, our team has been working very hard all year to address bottlenecks in our supply chain and improve manufacturing efficiency. I'm happy to say that we have overcome most of these issues and are beginning to ramp up Lucid Gravity production. We believe we will significantly increase production in the second half of the year. The challenges we faced were multifold, but can primarily be attributed to, first, the capacity of certain suppliers in our supply chain, and second, the availability of magnets originating in China, an industry-wide challenge. To the first point, we've been working closely with our suppliers to alleviate issues that could prevent us from producing at the necessary volume to achieve our targets in the second half of the year. We've also implemented key initiatives that are focused on fostering enhanced accountability and data-driven decision-making. We are already seeing the benefits of this as we work diligently to improve Lucid Gravity production. Turning to the second point, to mitigate geopolitical supply chain challenges, our team was able to quickly integrate substitute magnets in production. And because of our nimble in-house vertical integration, this process took weeks instead of months. Software changes, manufacturing changes, and software-hardware integration all work together to make this happen. Without our vertical integration and ability for our team to make quick changes, we would have stopped production in Q2. I'm happy to say that we believe this issue is behind us, and we have secured enough magnets to meet our production target for the remainder of the year. As we have noted before, we have a strong commitment to our US-based manufacturing. We believe this will make us more resilient and help mitigate the impact of tariffs and other geopolitical issues. In that regard, I wanted to highlight a couple of recent announcements that further support our position. First, in June, we announced a preliminary agreement with Graphite One to source natural and synthetic graphite domestically, beginning in 2028. This agreement complements our existing non-binding supply agreement with Graphite One that was signed in April of 2024. Following this announcement, we helped establish the Minerals for National Automotive Competitiveness Collaboration, or MINAC, a partnership among U.S. critical minerals producers that are focused on supporting US-based manufacturing and sourcing. We view these as necessary corrective steps to help insulate our supply chain from global volatility. We also recently celebrated the opening of Panasonic's US factory in DeSoto, Kansas. Panasonic is one of our key suppliers, and the presence of this US factory will strengthen our domestic supply chain starting in 2026. Our next priority is to amplify demand through brand, marketing, and partnership initiatives. Our team's hard work in this regard has been on display through recent announcements over the past few weeks that I've already discussed. I'm pleased with the progress we are making to enhance our brand, but this work is only the beginning. As I mentioned earlier in my remarks, in September we plan to launch a new Gravity brand campaign featuring Timothée Chalamet as part of our broader partnership. To further deepen brand affinity and trust, we are expanding our efforts beyond traditional advertising. This includes new brand ambassador partnerships with world-class athletes, influential cultural voices, and globally recognized creators who share our vision and values. We are also developing strategic collaborations with brands and organizations at the forefront of sport and culture. These partnerships will allow us to tap in new communities and strengthen emotional connection consumers have with our brand.
Okay, a couple things. I'm going to address the last thing you said first instead of going in order. When they're looking for brand ambassadors and they're looking for sports figures, I can't do that. I'm not an actor, I'm not an influencer, but I am a content creator with an audience that reaches 62 different countries every single week, multiple times a week. So I'm going to propose this to Lucid. If you would like to give me a Lucid Gravity and pay me a bunch of money, like a boatload of money to be a brand ambassador for you, I will do that. And in return, I will throw in on top of, I will light my Tesla on fire and drive the Lucid Gravity through the flames in a dramatic video. So all you got to do is contact me. I'll give you my address and you can just back the cash right into my driveway and then I'll shuffle it into the garage. You don't even have to put it in my house. As a matter of fact, I don't even want you at my house. I just want you to dump the loads of cash in my driveway and I'll take care of burning the Tesla down. And, you could park the Lucid in my garage if you want to do that. Anyway, I don't have brand loyalty. I mean, I do for Lucid, but if you're not paying me, I don't have brand loyalty. Another thing I wanted to point out, and I was going to break in a little bit earlier, because everything that he talked about, I think, was interesting. I don't really have much to say on it. I do think it's good to know that magnets and things like that are hard to come by. And, these companies are being affected by tariffs, which we know. But another thing that I thought was really interesting is Peter Rawlinson, the former CEO of Lucid, used to say laser focused so many times. Like it was multiple times in a earnings call. We got one laser focus from Mark, which I feel like I feel like that's an acknowledgement of Peter's hard work, and I recognize that acknowledgement. Anyway, Lucid, you can email me Bodie, BODIE at 918digital.com, and let me know where we can light this Tesla on fire.
Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at Vanta.com.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. They're the home of the #1 checkout on the planet and the not-so-secret Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales happening. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds and Skims use. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/start selling. All lowercase. Go to shopify.com/start selling to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/start selling.
The key to good skin is hidden deep in the ocean. Osea's Undaria algae body oil harnesses the powers of Undaria seaweed in every bottle to transform dry skin to silky, soft, and glowing without feeling greasy. Seaweed is a nutrient-dense superfood packed with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants that help replenish the skin's moisture barrier and maintain a healthy glow. Osea's Undaria algae body oil is not your typical body oil. Rich, yet never greasy, and clinically shown to instantly improve skin elasticity. See the power of Undaria seaweed after just one use. Get healthy, glowing skin with clean vegan skin and body care from Osea. For 10% off your first order, use code SEAWEED10 at OseaMalibu.com. Plus, free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $50. Use code SEAWEED10 for 10% off at OSEAMalibu.com.
Need to restock inventory, cover seasonal dips, or manage payroll? OnDeck's small business line of credit provides immediate access to funds up to $100,000 exactly when your business needs it. With flexible draws, transparent pricing, and full control over repayment, you can tackle unexpected expenses without missing a beat. Apply today at OnDeck.com and funds could be available as soon as tomorrow. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
Moving on to our next clip.
Our final priority is to maintain and enhance our competitive edge through our technology. Engineering and technological excellence have long defined Lucid's brand, and we remain committed to these tenets as we grow the business. Just a few days ago, we deployed a software update to our DreamDrive Pro advanced driver assist system. This update enables hands-free driving and lane changes, and it's also expected to be released for Lucid Gravity later this year. Recently, we also began production of the 2026 Lucid Air, which features a new battery pack for touring models that extends the model's EPA-rated range to 431 miles, compared to 406 in the previous model year. Notably, all 2026 Lucid Air models now utilize the same AC compressor as the Lucid Gravity, marking the beginning of further efforts aimed at part commonization across our vehicle lines. The Lucid Air Grand Touring demonstrates its range leadership recently by garnering the Guinness World Record of the longest journey by an electrical vehicle on a single charge. Additionally, Car and Driver named the Lucid Air Sapphire the quickest car they've ever tested, toppling the Porsche Taycan Turbo GT Weissach. The Air Sapphire set a 0 to 60 time of 1.9 seconds and completed the quarter mile in 9.1 seconds. In Jason Camisa's ultimate drag race on Haggerty, the Lucid Gravity Dream Edition with dual motors completed the quarter mile in 10.5 seconds, matching the quad motor Rivian R1S.
Okay, so he's just going to talk about more and more of Lucid's wins in here, their accomplishments, which I'm going to, I think the fact that, you know, Car and Driver or Motor Trend or whoever it was that said it was the quickest car they've ever tested, that's fine. It's probably also one of the more expensive cars that they test on a regular basis, but you know, whatever. I think Lucid has some great technology. I do think they have some great leadership. A lot of people didn't like Peter Rawlinson. I thought he was fine. I actually got a chance to talk to him when I was in Monterey, California in like 2017 or 2017. And, I honestly thought that I was just talking to an engineer. I had no idea that myself and my oldest Sierra, because she was there with me, we had no idea that we were talking to the CEO of the company, and he was explaining their motor and how it worked, and he was just getting really involved and exciting. And when I started doing earnings calls, that's kind of shortly after that, I was realizing, oh my goodness, this guy's the guy we talked to. But anyway, I don't see, I see him as filling all this time up with here are all of our little teeny tiny wins that we got. And I don't want to, actually I shouldn't minimize this. It's a little snotty, but here are our wins. I just see this as taking up time. This whole earnings call was only 45 minutes long. As a matter of fact, and I'll play it when it gets to the end because I had to double check that it was in fact only 45 minutes. But the operator actually says, well, I see there are no more call or questions in the queue, so I'm just going to go ahead and end it here. Whether that was true or not, I don't know. But yeah, like I've never done an earnings call or covered an earnings call that was less than an hour. They're usually pretty spot on to an hour to like an hour and 3 minutes, maybe a little bit before. But this was 45 minutes, which is not all that long. So typically, this is my theory on things, when earnings calls are taken up by the CEO's opening remarks, like the majority of the earnings calls taken up by the CEO's opening remarks, and then the CFO has their opening remarks, and they limit the time for analyst questions, that means something bad's going on inside the company, you know. Lucid just announced, it was the 14th, I believe, of August. They announced the Lucid Gravity X, which is the car that we talked about that they were testing that was camouflaged and driving in the desert. I'm not going to really talk too much about it because it's not coming out anytime soon, but they did announce it. But for me, I'm going to be honest, what it felt like for me, it gave me a lot of like that Fisker Motors energy. Like when Fisker came out and they showed off the Fisker Pear and the Alaska, which is the pickup truck, and they showed off the Fisker Ocean, which was going to be this off-road vehicle that was, you know, engineered to the max. And then they showed off some ridiculous Fisker supercar as well, and then they had a Q&A session or a little chat session after it was all said and done. It felt very much like they were just throwing this Fisker Ocean or not Fisker. Yeah, they were throwing this Lucid Gravity up that could do off-road stuff similar to the Fisker Ocean. But I would say that the Fisker Ocean probably made more sense to make it off-road. You know, there's a handful of people that are going to spend the money that you would spend on a Lucid Gravity. There's a handful of people that are going to take that off road, but it is a small percentage. And I don't know that there's enough people that want to buy that car for off-roading that it makes sense. There's some people that are going to buy it just because they want some of those features and they want that look, but really, to me, it just kind of felt like they were like, hey, here's something we can announce and kind of build because we're just modifying an existing car. And there was a rumor that like Fisker not Fisker, goodness gracious. Now I'm going to keep saying that. And hopefully that doesn't doom Lucid. But Lucid, there was a rumor that said that they had only built 9 Lucid Gravities to this point. It was 9 or 6, something like that. And I didn't really cover it because Lucid denied it, but who knows how many they've built to this point, because I don't know that they've officially said. They just denied that was the number. It might be 2. I mean, you can still deny it. It could be worse, but as a company, I think Lucid is a great company. But again, I think they're just trying to fill the time of the earnings call. Yeah, overall, I feel like they maybe just wanted to get this over with and as soon as possible and take as little questions as possible. Now, I'm going to play the next clip. I don't know what it is going to be at this point because when I actually stopped it and pulled the clip for what you have already listened to, he actually had more to say about all of the things that Lucid is doing, the little things that they're doing, and then he went back and revisited the Neuro Uber partnership. So I'm going to skip past that and we'll see if we hear the CFO's opening remarks or we get right to the analyst questions. See how it goes.
Looking ahead, our midsize platform vehicles will play a crucial role in maintaining Lucid's competitive edge in technology. These vehicles will have been meticulously designed to achieve leading product features and specifications with low cost, enabling us to position our company for significant market expansion. By adopting this approach, we aim to strike a balance between cost competitiveness and high volume production, while still preserving the premium attributes that our customers have come to expect from Lucid. Technology leadership is the key enabler for this previously opposing combination. A prime example of this approach is our Atlas Drive unit, which serves as a cornerstone of our higher volume and cost efficiency strategy. We are committed to enhancing our powertrain efficiency leadership, while simultaneously achieving lower costs and maintaining exceptional performance. Lastly, as you may know, the Lucid Gravity was the first non-Tesla vehicle sold to offer a built-in NACS connector and supports native Tesla supercharger network access. We have also recently opened this access for Lucid Air owners as well. As of July 31st, Lucid Air owners with an approved adapter in North America can now charge their vehicles at any one of the 23,500 plus Tesla supercharger locations throughout the country, with access integrated into their Lucid app. This is in addition to more than 30,000 CCS chargers already available across North America to Lucid drivers. In closing, we are not simply building electrical vehicles. We are pushing the boundaries of what EVs can be. From the record-breaking performance and efficiency of the Lucid Air, to the game-changing Lucid Gravity, to our upcoming midsize platform, our technology continues to redefine what's possible. But our mission isn't only to make the best EVs in the world. It's to build a great business around them. That means continuing to drive innovation while also scaling intelligently, building a robust supply chain and making strategic decisions that position us for long-term success. We're entering a pivotal new phase, one where world-class engineering meets world-class execution. And with the talent, focus, and drive across our team, I truly believe we're just getting started. Thank you for your continued belief in Lucid, not just as a car company, but as a company shaping the future of mobility and American manufacturing.
Okay, so I don't have a lot to add. I'm looking forward to seeing what Lucid comes up with when it comes to a mass market EV. I think that'll be exciting. I think Lucid has a great product. It's just really hard for somebody to buy when it's so expensive. In terms of the CFO's open remarks, I did not. I made some notes. I wasn't going to make you listen to his entire opening remarks. So he mentioned the Uber Lucid Neuro deal again. He did say laser focused one time, so that was good. Lucid in Q2 2025 had $259 million in revenue, but their gross margin was negative 105% for Q2. Part of that negative gross margin was $54 million paid extra to tariffs, which was the reason for a 21% decrease in gross margins. So part of that negative 105% for Q2 in gross margins, $54 million of that, or 21% of that, was due to tariffs. He did go on to say that Lucid has $3.6 billion in cash currently. I don't usually deal with the financial stuff because I don't know enough about it to really talk about it. But $3.6 billion doesn't seem like a whole lot. They might need to go back to the Saudi Wealth Fund for more or other investors. All right, we're going to get to our say.com questions. And companies don't always use say.com. Again, this is another thing where I think if they don't want to take the analyst questions, or they want to take as little of the analyst questions as possible, they will, use the say.com questions. These are just my theories. I don't know if this is 100% true, but sometimes when they have a lot of fun and happy news to report, they may not do the say.com questions before the analysts. So, I'm totally speculating, but yeah, let's get to the first one, which is an interesting one, which is how many pre-orders for the Lucid Gravity are there? I think that's a good question. Will we get a good answer?
The first question comes from Sean B. How many current Gravity orders are there?
We don't disclose the specific number of orders we've received. However, as I referenced in my prepared remarks, customers are now experiencing Lucid Gravity in our studios, and we are seeing a high conversion rate once people see the vehicle for themselves. We are happy with what we're seeing, and we remain supply constrained and not demand constrained. We expect the situation will normalize soon.
Let's move on to our next question.
Our second question comes from Paul C. Is the midsize platform still on target for production in late 2026? Are deliveries expected to start in 2026 or 2027? And did the acquisition of the Nikola facilities allow midsize to be brought forward at all?
The midsize is still scheduled for start of production in late 2026, and we are planning to unveil the vehicle next year. Given that production starts in late 2026, we expect deliveries to ramp up throughout 2027. Regarding the Nikola facilities, while the facilities we acquired bring added capabilities, they will not impact the timeline of our midsize vehicles.
I actually think this is good news. And here's why I think it's good news. Because when companies for me, from my perspective of doing this for 9 years, when companies are in trouble, they announce too early. They announce new products too early and show off new products too early. Like, I think based on where Rivian is with their midsize platform, I think that announcement was too early. I think they probably could have held off a little bit. Now, did Rivian do that because they have a financial problem? Probably not. I don't think that's why they announced so early, but I think it can be a huge detriment if you announce too early. And it really comes down to messaging. But from what I've seen with new startups, when these companies do announce early, it's usually to drum up some excitement for the company and maybe boost that stock a little bit. Or maybe get a little bit more interest in a big investment, that kind of thing. Again, Fisker did this, and there's other companies that have done it as well. Faraday Future. There's just a lot. There's a lot of companies that have done this. And I don't fault them, but now when I hear somebody announce super early, I'm cautious, especially when they've been building cars for a while. If they're just coming out of stealth mode, I give them a little bit more slack in terms of that, as that goes. They haven't produced a vehicle yet, because you got to invest. You got to have investors to bring a car to production. It's very expensive. Anyway, so I think that's good. They're going to wait till next year before they show off the car. I think that's great. All right, let's move on to analyst questions. I've already listened to a couple of them, and that I'm not going to include because they're all in all not all that interesting. But the first one we are going to listen to is a question about Lucid Gravity deliveries. So let's listen to what they have to say on that.
It's that time of year again, back to school season, and Instacart knows that the only thing harder than getting back into the swing of things is getting all the back-to-school supplies, snacks, and essentials you need. So here's your reminder to make your life a little easier this season. Shop favorites from Staples, Best Buy, and Costco, all delivered through Instacart, so that you can get some time back and do whatever it is that you need to get your life back on track. Instacart, we're here.
Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at vanta.com.
And that will come from the line of James Piccirillo with BNP Paribas. Your line is open.
Hi, guys. This is Jake on for James. I was wondering if you could just quantify Gravity deliveries in the second quarter. And based on third-party data, which is admittedly unreliable for Lucid, there were no deliveries in July. So is there a hang-up, like quality issue with the Gravity delivery ramp? And when should we expect to see material volumes?
Yeah. Well, let me address July first. That number is false, and that's all I want to say about that. It's totally false. But when it comes to number for second half, we're not disclosing this, but we're definitely in the process right now of ramping up Gravity. In the second half of this year, the Gravities will actually be the majority of our deliveries. But yeah, going back to the July number, we saw that as well. But yeah, it's unfortunate that something like this is published.
Okay. So it is illegal to lie in an earnings call. So when they say that's not true, that means that article isn't true. It could be off by one fraction of a car, and that technically is not true, and they are technically not breaking the law. Having said that, his last comment of, we saw that too, and it's unfortunate that people are writing about this. It's your fault. You're the one that's supposed to bring the messaging. This is a new product. So if you only delivered 10, but you have reservations of 100,000, okay, own that you only delivered 10. If you are silent on the matter, people are going to fill in the holes with their own truth, and that's your fault, not their fault. They're going to try to put as much as they can together for the numbers to make sense, or for the information that they have to make sense. So that's your fault, and fix it. Give the numbers. Don't be afraid. It's okay. This is a new product. You didn't build very many Lucid Airs when you started either. So while I will give Lucid all the credit in the world for the technology that they have, their manufacturing and logistics and some other things in the past has not been as great. So why they're having a hard time, or could be having a hard time, it could absolutely be the supply chain, and it could be just the growing pains of entering a vehicle into production and all those other things. That's okay. But if you don't say anything, don't complain when people write what they think, And a lot of these journalists have people on the inside that they're talking to, so they have sources. I would imagine if it's not true, it's not far off, because if their numbers were phenomenal, they'd be singing about how well their numbers are. They gave the production and delivery numbers. They didn't break it out between Lucid Gravity and Lucid Air, but we can imagine that the Gravity wasn't a high number. And his comment that in Q3 they're going to sell more Lucid Gravities than Airs, I hope that that's true, but I doubt it. We'll keep an eye on it. All right, let's go to the next one.
Hi, good evening, Mark and Tawfiq. I hope you're both well, and thanks for your time. I have 3 questions, if that's okay. 2 are for Mark and 1's for Tawfiq, and I'll ask them separately. Mark, in your prepared remarks, you cited the supply of magnets as constraining production, but output in the second quarter was at an all-time high and also above demand. And I also understand that Gravity and the Air use the same amount of magnets. So I'm slightly confused, and I was wondering if I can ask for further details on that topic, or if you can tell me what I've missed.
Yeah. Well, first of all, that problem is behind us. So we solved that problem in Q2. Second half of the year, we have secured enough magnets, so we have no problem with that anymore. When it comes to your second part, that the Gravity and the Air use the same magnets, that's actually not exactly true. Because what happens is that from each model year and from each model, we have minor changes in the chemical setup of the magnets and those kind of things. So that is not really correct. So we had a shortfall for a certain trim, And we were able to overcome this with some magic, I would call it, that our engineering teams then were able to do. So we actually didn't this production due to that in Q2. That helped us over that hump.
That was such a good question. I don't care what this guy's other two questions are. I'm going to keep them in. I was like, oh man, that's a really good point. I can't believe I didn't think of that. Let's listen to his second question.
Second question for Mark. About 2 years ago, I asked your predecessor to detail the timeline and the required milestones from then to starting production of the Gravity to help me judge progress from the outside. I was wondering if you could please do the same for the Atlas powertrain and the first model based on the midsize platform.
Yeah, I mean, right now, one key thing that we're doing is basically we're in sourcing right now, and basically what I'm saying right now applies to the Atlas powertrain, but also to the midsize. So there's not really a difference because both of them will come at the same time. Then sourcing is important because we are sourcing right now for the so-called PV builds, which is the product validation builds. So all of the engineering work will be very quickly be finalized, and then from there we go into a validation phase with all kinds of testing, including winter testing later in the year, and then homologation. So those are the things that are following. I guess the background of the question is, are we on track with what we planned, to start the production of the midsize in the end of 2026? And the answer to that, this is our current plan, has not changed.
Thanks for that. Tawfiq, final question from me. How much of the step up in the write-downs on inventories and losses on firm purchase commitments is attributable to tariffs versus building raw inventory to aid the ramp-up of the Gravity?
Yeah. So again, first of all, yes, there is an impact on inventory adjustment on inventory for the next 6 months commitment of purchases. It's as far as we see it, I mean, an event which will hit primarily Q2 because for the subsequent quarters, I mean, we will need to do a reversal, which will offset the new provision that we will book, provided that we maintain roughly an equivalent volume of procurement. So knowing that we have acquired and we did an increase in our inventory in Q2, we should expect the volumes to remain roughly stable in Q3 and Q4, and therefore it will not arise any incremental impairment that we might have to book. So we have stated that the tariffs, the impact from the tariffs in Q2 was amounting to roughly $55 million. So this is actually a net figure which is made of three different amounts. The first one is the actual tariff impact, which is in the range of $55 million. Then there's the impairment that we book only in Q2. And then there's a netting effect coming from the reimbursements that we're getting, the famous 3.75% that we're getting. So all this leading to a net $55+ million for the quarter.
Okay, so just some crystal clear, right? The 21 points of tariff impact, not all of it was actually realized in the second quarter. And you're still expecting some reimbursements to come later in the year. So actually the impact on the second quarter was more than 21%.
So no. I mean, we will have reimbursement, so this will continue. It's a flat percentage, which is function of the localization of the procurement activity and the volume. So this will continue until the end of the year. The only difference that will not happen, or the only element which will not happen or will not have an impact on our financial for the balance of the year is the booking of the impairment of the inventory, because this will be netted off between reversal and provision that we book. So that's why when you look at the statement that we have or the guidance that we have given, we are saying that the tariff impact on a full year basis will be on the lower end of what we have provided. So we said 8 to 15% on a full year basis. We have 21% in Q2, primarily because we had to book the first impairment on inventories. That will not happen for the subsequent quarters.
Okay, understood. Really appreciate the detail from both of you. Thanks for your time.
Those are really good questions and actually really good answers. So that's where we're going to end it today. That was the last question. Curious as to what you thought. Lucid is in a spot. They've been operating for a while now. I think 5 years producing vehicles. They still aren't producing very many each year. They do have some very expensive vehicles, but the Lucid Air does start around $70,000, as Peter Rawlinson used to say. Peter Rawlinson, if you don't know, he used to be like surprised that people didn't realize that they actually offered an affordable Lucid Air at $70,000. But $70,000 is more achievable for a vehicle for a lot of people than $160,000 or $250,000, which is what some of those cars cost. I think I mentioned this on the show, but my kid's orthodontist just bought a Lucid Air, and I feel like I have contributed to that Lucid Air, so it is technically part my Lucid Air because I have 2 kids in braces, or one just got out, so I contributed a fair amount to his Lucid Air. Anyway, yeah, I don't even know where I'm going with this. Oh, they're in this weird spot where they've been producing cars for 5 years. Their numbers, as far as the amount of cars that they're producing, is getting higher, but it's still not at a level where they're generating money, right? Their net negative, net gross margin is minus 105%, or their gross margin, not their net. Their gross margin is minus 105% for Q2. And they continue to have these bad quarters, or down quarters. I shouldn't say bad, because they continue to have wins. They're just not having wins at a very high scale. Their vehicles are being, they made 3,000 or 3,800 vehicles. They delivered 3,000 vehicles. Unless you're building $1 million cars, that's going to be very difficult to make money. And it'd be curious to see what happens if they're not able to be successful with this mid-range vehicle that they're talking about, with a $50,000 vehicle. It'll be interesting to see what happens then. Will they get sold? Will the Saudi wealth fund just completely take them over and put them under their management? Because right now they own about 60% of the company. But yeah, I hope the company doesn't go away. I want them to do well. They're also doing a reverse stock split, 10-1, which means that if you had 100 shares of Lucid, you now have 10 shares of Lucid, but the stock price theoretically is supposed to go up. This is so that they can stay on the stock exchange. There's just a lot going on, and their stock is about $2.50 or something like that. It's not very high. So I don't know. I think what Lucid's doing is cool. I don't understand why they have such low numbers. I mean, even Rivian has higher numbers than Lucid. So, and Rivian's not a luxury vehicle. It's a high-end vehicle, but it's not luxury. It's nice, but Lucid's supposed to be like luxury, which you would think people with money would want a luxury vehicle. Anyway, I've talked too much. If you want to email me, it's Bodie, BODIE at 918digital.com. You can find me on X at 918digital. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just search for Bodie Grimm, BODIE Grimm. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you next Tuesday.
Thank you. I'm showing no further questions in the queue at this time. This concludes Lucid's second quarter of 2025 earnings conference call. Thank you all for joining us today, and you may now disconnect.
Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at vanta.com.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. They're the home of the #1 checkout on the planet and the not-so-secret Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales happening. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds and Skims use. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/start selling. All lowercase. Go to shopify.com/start selling to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/start selling.
You might associate oil and natural gas with running a car or heating a home, but these resources go beyond fuel. More than 6,000 everyday products are made using oil and gas, from soap to toothpaste, bed sheets to contact lenses, and so much more. Oil and gas are an essential part of your world. People rely on oil and gas and on Energy Transfer to safely deliver it through an underground system of pipelines across the country. Learn more at energytransfer.com.